Surveillance, Pilot, written by Gebhardt Jenn Russi. Act 1. Interior, interrogation room, day. Sarah Coleman, mid-20s, sits strapped to a chair, hooked up to a polygraph machine. An off-screen technician is in the room with her.
Is your name Sarah Coleman?
A measured beat, which Sarah repeats after each question.
Yes.
Are you 27 years old?
Yes.
Are you currently enrolled in a postgraduate program with a focus on cybersecurity?
Yes.
Have you ever taken anything from an office?
Yes.
Have you ever engaged in terrorist-related activity?
No.
Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental illness?
Sarah stares passively at the off-screen technician. The sound of fingers clacking on the keyboard builds and takes us to Interior, Cybertech Lab, day. A figure sits in the dark in front of a computer screen running code, a hacknet-esque program. Warning lights flash on the computer screen as a countdown clock appears in the top corner. An analog voice from the program speaks.
Commencing self-destruct procedures in 10 seconds.
We still can't see the person's face, but we can hear their heavy breathing as we push in on their hands flying across the keyboard. The alarm chimes again as the clock reads 5, 4. More frantic typing as we hear,
Come on, come on.
Suddenly,
Yes.
just as the computer screen flashes black and the words, Crisis Resolved, Private Server Protected, appear on the screen. The lights come up as the figure spins around in their chair. It's Sarah. She turns, her arms raised in victory, to a person sitting at the computer suite next to her. Dev, male, Pakistani, 20s, tilts back in his chair, puts his feet on the desk, which is littered with soda cans and food wrappers.
Unbelievable. No one has ever beaten Newman. It's the hardest program in the system. It's impossible to beat.
Sarah smirks with a wry smile Dev's way.
You know what those motivational posters always say? Nothing's impossible if you put your mind to it.
There's another person sitting on the other side of Sarah, not working on a computer or interacting with any of the techs in the room. This is Jeff, 20s.
Don't you know it?
Sarah shifts her eyes briefly toward Jeff. Dev continues as if Jeff isn't there.
You're a hacker genius, Coleman.
He should try telling you something you don't know.
What I'd like to know is why you're treating this lab like your living room.
Sarah and Dev turn toward a door, where Rosalind Washington, African-American authority figure, 50s, stands. Jeff is gone, no trace of him. Dev nearly falls out of his chair as he yanks himself up and starts cleaning up the mess they've made from hours of simulations.
Director Washington, we were just running a few simulations.
And?
Sarah just beat Newman.
Sarah shoots Dev a look, which he shrugs off.
Make sure the lab is clean before you leave. Sarah, I'd like to see you in my office.
I'll be right there.
Washington leaves. Sarah gathers her things.
See you at class.
And she's gone. Dev looks at the mess he has to clean up.
She beat Newman.
Interior, Washington's office, day. Angle favoring Sarah. Washington sits at her desk. Sarah and Jeff sit opposite her, with Jeff only addressing Sarah. Oddly, Washington acts as if Jeff isn't in the room.
Your ability to break through the code walls we give you is in the top 1%.
More like 0.7%.
Not only that, but you've received high marks from your cohort.
Emily's probably threatened them.
Sarah tries to shake off Jeff's comments.
As you know, one of the things we look for is your ability to work with government technology in ways that might uniquely benefit certain agencies. You'll be happy to know I've recommended you to a recruiting agent.
Sarah happily processes that.
Really? That's great.
It's not a glamorous start, but it's a start.
Yeah, because advanced cybersecurity is such a fashion-forward field.
Sarah looks in Jeff's direction, causing Washington to ask.
Sarah, is there something on your mind?
We switch to a neutral angle on the room. The chair Jeff occupied is empty. Sarah recovers.
No, I'm just taking in everything you've said.
These opportunities don't come often, let alone twice in one cohort. I've also passed Annalise's name along. I don't think she'd mind me telling you.
No, I'm sure it's fine with her, and thank you. What do I need to do?
Standard clearance. There'll be forms to fill out, an interview, background check, and a polygraph in the next few weeks. I don't imagine any of that will be a problem for someone like you.
Angle favoring Sarah. Jeff is sitting in the chair again.
Imagine if she knew the irony there.
Sarah gives Washington a weak smile.
Yeah, definitely not a problem.
Exterior, lake by medical complex. Day. Sarah strolls around a small lake by a moderate medical complex. Dr. Herman Mitchell, man, 50s, African American, walks with her.
You're going to lie on a government job application.
Polygraphs are only accurate 80% of the time. I'll take that 20% chance.
That's quite a risk you're taking.
I don't have a choice.
Really?
Really.
There's a lot of attributes that make you a great candidate for this type of work.
But none of that matters if they know that I'm bipolar.
Mitchell reacts.
So you're ready to accept that diagnosis?
Sarah isn't ready to go down that rabbit hole.
Doesn't matter. Once they learn I'm mentally ill and see things that aren't there, you think they'd trust me with a high-level security clearance?
Well, no. If you see terrorists in the oleanders, they might.
I'm serious. Any job I apply for, private sector included, asks about this on the application. Yeah, there are nice blurbs about how answering yes won't result in discrimination, but if it's between hiring a normal person like them or someone like me who might completely lose it by the water cooler, they're gonna lean on the side of caution, no matter how many tests I ace. You're a therapist, you know how this stuff goes.
And when they discover you've lied?
At least I'll have had a chance to keep people's information safe. I've got problems, but that doesn't mean I don't matter.
Sarah worries about that, deeply. Exterior, indie coffee shop, evening. Sarah sits across the table from her dad, Brent, career military, 50s.
Washington put my name forward.
Brent looks at his daughter, inwardly hopeful.
For an agency job?
Sarah nods. Relief sweeps across Brent's face.
You're a Coleman. Patriot. The top of your class.
Yeah, but, you know...
Of course, you're going to be what they want. I hoped you'd follow the family tradition and go Army, but...
I'm a lot better with a laptop than with a gun.
It's a slightly awkward moment that Brent pushes through.
The important thing is that you're serving.
Brent thinks about all this.
If I told my CO in Vietnam that the most dangerous battles in 30 years would be in cyberspace, he'd have my head examined and ruled me unfit to serve. Now we fight terrorists on YouTube while our own citizens rat us out on Wikipedia.
People have a right to know what's going on. How many speeches have you given about fighting to protect America's freedoms?
Sometimes people need to be protected from themselves for their own good.
Yeah.
The conversation reaches an uncomfortable impasse.
Have you talked to your mother?
Have you?
You know your mother and I.
Yeah, I know. She's still her, though, you know?
Brent looks wistful for a moment, then clears his throat.
Tell her.
Sarah looks hopeful.
Forget it. Call me when you've had the interview.
Sarah's face falls as Brent stands. Sarah stands too.
Yeah, I love you.
Brent pulls her into a long hug.
Love you.
He walks away. Sarah looks after him, then turns and heads the other way. Exterior, street, evening. Sarah comes out of the subway station. She walks down the sidewalk, deep in thought. Someone bumps into her in the hustle and bustle of rush hour. Neither turns to apologize or look at the other. They just keep walking. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Later that night, Sarah types away fast on her laptop as Jeff putters around the room.
Bummer Alex couldn't come over tonight.
Don't do that.
You're the one who decides what we talk about. You're the one who decided to do a little light hacking through your program server.
Gotta keep my skills sharp.
Jeff paces, looks at photos on the wall, examines various things. Sarah pauses. Jeff looks up.
You forgot to get milk.
I really need to set reminders for these things.
Sarah grabs her phone and types in a reminder. She goes back to hacking. Suddenly, Sarah's eyes go wide and Jeff freezes.
Well, that's interesting.
Shit. What is this? Shit. I don't think I'm in the program server anymore.
Where else could you be?
I don't.
Jeff joins her in full concentration at her computer.
Oh, look at these files, at these records.
The War on Truth? No, I'm not reading the...
It's a federal government citizen surveillance program with attached threat levels for everyone the government's keeping tabs on.
Sarah slams her laptop closed.
Oh God. Oh God. Did I just hack the government?
End of Act 1. Act 2. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Continuous from previous act. Sarah pries the back cover off the laptop, revealing the motherboard inside. She rises from the couch and quickly moves out of sight into her room as Jeff watches. She returns with a power tool kit, pulls out a drill, and screws in the bit.
Are we gonna talk about...
Nope. Definitely not.
Sarah drills out specific sections of the computer's motherboard.
So, according to what we didn't see, it looks like the government...
I didn't see anything.
Sarah pries the motherboard out of the computer and breaks it in half.
Yeah, all right. But those files reference government activity and coercion. We want to know for sure.
I do not.
Sarah runs her hands through her hair, looks at the remains of her laptop.
Wait, I was in the school server, wasn't I? How could I have found...
Sarah trails off. Before,
I need to know where those files were.
Sarah brushes by Jeff, disappears into her room, and comes back with another laptop. Jeff watches as Sarah brushes the broken motherboard out of the way, opens the new laptop, and boots it up.
And I thought tonight was going to be boring.
Sarah navigates to the Wi-Fi icon and clicks it open. She searches the list of available networks and clicks on FBI surveillance van.
Brian won't mind.
As long as he can play Call of Duty all day, I doubt it. Besides, he borrowed that koozie for his energy drink 2 weeks ago and hasn't given it back.
Sarah hacks the Wi-Fi password, logs into her school server, and navigates.
Here they are.
Are they in the school server?
I think so.
Sarah opens the files and starts reading. Her face moves from nervousness to confusion. Interior, Washington's office, day. A quick knock at the door just as Sarah enters, saying,
Director Washington, I have something I need to...
Sarah stops dead in her tracks. Standing with Washington is a man, Drews, male, 30s, fair-skinned and imposing with a thick New England accent, dressed in a dark suit and tie.
Sarah?
I'm sorry. I'm hoping to catch you before your morning meetings.
No trouble. You've always been one of my more eager students. Though this is early even for you. Sarah, this is Mr. Drews. Mr. Drews, Sarah Coleman, the candidate I was telling you about.
Sarah?
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Mr. Drews is here to evaluate the candidates who will move forward for potential recruitment.
I thought that wasn't for another few weeks.
I'd like to be thorough.
Sarah isn't sure how to take that. Later, Washington's office, day. Sarah, apprehensive, sits across from Washington.
Could this be a prank from one of your classmates?
It's not a prank.
Washington considers.
Tell me about these files.
There are hundreds of profiles of people for an operation codenamed War on Truth.
What kind of people?
Ordinary people.
Sarah holds something back.
Go on.
From what I can tell, the government's running a surveillance operation and classifying people as potential threats to national security without much proof. And it looks like the government's violating people's privacy to coerce them into certain actions.
Washington shifts, evens her attention at Sarah.
Sarah, there may seem to be problematic aspects to whatever you think you found, but...
It's more than problematic.
She pulls her phone out and opens her notes app.
I know the government sometimes operates in a legal gray area. What it shouldn't do, what I'm not okay with is using information on these people's relatives, friends, as a part of this war on truth. These people will protest. In this case, it's noted that their relatives and friends likely have aspects of their personal lives they'd rather keep quiet. This information can be used to persuade the target to agree with our position.
Washington is silent, considers.
You were right to bring this to me. I'll look into what these files are and why they're on our private server.
Sarah is happy to have Washington's validation, but...
Sarah, given the feelings you've expressed, I encourage you to think about the kind of career you want. You have tremendous potential, but if you want to go anywhere in this field, you need to learn not just when to look, but when to look away. Am I making myself clear?
Sarah thinks on that, lets that sink in.
Yes, I understand.
Interior, Cybertech Lab, day. Sarah, her mind heavy, sits at her computer suite. She looks around the empty room and takes some comfort in her solitude as she logs into the computer and navigates to a simulation program. She has a video message waiting. She clicks it open. It's Dev.
17 minutes, 23 seconds. Beat that.
The message ends.
Beat that. I'll show you how to beat that.
Sarah unconsciously relaxes as she navigates towards hacking simulation and begins. Time lapse. Sarah maneuvers through the simulation, expert in pounding away at her keyboard, eyes flying from screen to screen as she continuously prevents a cyberspace marker from penetrating a security barrier, all the while relaxing into the technological world she revels in, feels safe in, understands. She plugs in a series of algorithms. She works steadily, methodically. We end the time lapse as...
And I've gotcha.
Sarah beats the simulation, just as...
Sarah!
Sarah jumps.
Jesus!
I apologize. I didn't mean to scare you.
Sarah's eyes dart around the room as she tries to calm herself.
I totally forgot I was alone in here.
Dev looks at the computer screen.
You beat my time? I really thought I'd win this time.
Sarah looks at her screen. The timer reads 17 minutes, 2 seconds.
Never.
Sarah ends the simulation and logs out of the computer suite as...
I came to ask you. Chris wanted to know about going to trivia tonight.
I don't know.
They're interrupted by Annalise, mid-voice.
Dev, I've been calling you. I only get an hour for lunch, and you know we're going to spend 20 of that in traffic. I really need this bombing.
Annalise sees Sarah, who was hidden from view by Dev.
Oh, hey Sarah. Did Dev tell you about trivia tonight?
I did.
You're coming, right?
Probably. I'll let you know.
Dev and Annalise walk out of the lab. Sarah looks around, unnerved. Jeff sits next to her.
You don't normally lose situational awareness.
Sarah tries to shake this off, looks at the clock.
You're going to be late for your lunch date with Alex.
Shit.
Sarah grabs her stuff and heads for the door.
Stay sharp out there. Never know who might be watching you.
Sarah pauses for a split second before moving from the room. Interior, cafe, day. Sarah and Alex, woman, late 20s, young professional, have finished lunch. Alex has fallen into casual conversation. We push in on Sarah, who isn't paying attention. Alex is speaking, but her words are MOS. Alex pauses, waiting for Sarah to chime in, but Sarah is spaced out, looks around covertly. Alex waves a hand in front of Sarah's face.
Hello in there.
Sarah snaps back to reality.
Sorry. He did what?
It wasn't anything important, just dumb coworker things, but, is everything okay? With us? You seemed, I don't know, distracted lately.
Oh, no. Alex, we're great. I've just got a lot on my mind.
Alex is relieved, but still concerned.
You know you can talk to me, right?
Sarah looks away and runs a hand through her hair.
Yeah, it's just...
Sarah looks back at Alex, who turns from hopeful to crestfallen when she realizes Sarah's still keeping her at a distance. Sarah sees this, corrects.
It might be nothing. I don't know. But the other night I was poking around the program servers and I found these files from a government database and I just can't help thinking that I saw something I shouldn't have.
Sarah pauses.
Sarah, if you'd hacked a government agency, even accidentally, someone would have contacted you by now. Trust me.
That's the weird thing. They were clearly government files, but they were on the program server.
Alex takes Sarah's hand.
Sarah, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Sarah doesn't believe that.
I'm serious.
Alex, I've never seen anything like this in the servers before.
Even if you did find something sensitive in there, it's not like you turned around and posted it on the internet.
I'm not an idiot.
I didn't mean it like that.
Sarah collects herself.
I'm sorry. I'm just worried.
It's okay. Why don't you come over tonight? I'll cook and try to take your mind off this situation.
Sarah smiles.
I'd like that. But there's this trivia tonight. Chris finally has a night off, and none of us have seen him lately.
Probably because you all shamed him so badly about making you guys come in second last time.
Sarah laughs, then sees the time.
Hey, you're gonna be late back to work.
Alex sighs and gets up.
You're a good clock. Maybe you've got a promising career in reminding people to do things.
Sarah laughs as she stands and opens the door to the street, following Alex out. Exterior, sidewalk, continuous. Alex kisses Sarah goodbye.
Call me after trivia?
Yep. Try not to kill any coworkers this afternoon.
Alex is already walking away, turns back to Sarah.
You know me, always excelling at playing well with others.
Sarah laughs as Alex walks away. Sarah turns and heads down the sidewalk, takes a few steps and dodges around people, just as Jeff falls into step with her. They move down the street until Jeff's face falls to fear, a second before Sarah's face does the same. Sarah looks behind her. When she turns back, Jeff is gone. Sarah's eyes dart furtively around the street. She sizes up passers-by at random. She catches the flash of a shadow in an alleyway. Sarah picks up the pace. She hears footsteps behind her. She turns around to see the normal hustle and bustle of a city sidewalk. Sarah pulls herself together, jogs across the street. She reaches her building, looks back one last time. Nothing appears out of the ordinary. Sarah shakes her head, opens the door, and enters the building. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, same. Sarah enters, doesn't lock the door, looks around, steps into the room, and is suddenly overtaken with an intense wave of paranoia. She quickly moves into the kitchen and grabs a knife off the counter. She stalks through the small apartment. Bathroom, hallway, bedroom. Nothing in any of the rooms. Living room. Sarah makes her way back to the living room, where Jeff has appeared. Looking out the window, Sarah jumps.
Check outside to see if you were followed.
Jesus Christ! You scared me.
Isn't everyone a little afraid of themselves deep down?
I'm really not in the mood for jokes.
Sarah puts the knife back in the kitchen and turns her attention to her laptop, which is just where she left it on the table. She sits down and grabs a pen and pad.
I'm serious. I really thought there was someone out there.
There wasn't. Just me.
Sarah logs into the server and pulls up the War on Truth files again.
Well, it might not be a bad idea to get a new lock for the front door.
A look of recognition flits over Sarah's face. She shakes her head, tries to clear her mind of Jeff and focus on the laptop screen as...
Stop it!
I'm just...
They both freeze at the same moment. Sarah stares at the laptop screen.
What the hell?
The files have been altered. From your computer.
Sarah sucks in a breath. And that's the end of Act 2. Act 3. Interior, Sarah's apartment. Living room, day. Continuous from previous act.
Check your computer. They might have looked at other things on the hard drive.
Sarah, her breathing heavier, pulls open a program in her computer, logs into it separately, and runs it.
That's why I have this.
Oh, the program that lets you see what was accessed and when.
Sarah looks through the results.
It isn't showing any logins since I've been out.
Sarah works the keyboard.
That's not right. You know someone's been here.
Sarah pauses and looks around before shaking her head and focusing back on the screen.
No, nothing was accessed.
Sarah thinks on this. She silently sets the laptop aside and moves into interior, Sarah's apartment, bathroom, continuous. Jeff sits on the edge of the tub, obviously worried. Sarah grabs her toothbrush and starts brushing her teeth.
Why break in here, hack into the computer, access only those files, and then leave them there?
Sarah splits out the toothpaste,
There's no evidence any of that happened.
rinses out her mouth, and rinses off the brush.
That had to be the government.
Sarah looks at Jeff through the mirror.
What?
They must know you looked at the files.
Sarah, starting to get nervous, leaves the bathroom for interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, continuous. Sarah moves into the room and directly to her laptop as Jeff stands behind the couch looking down at the laptop. Sarah goes into the files again.
They've been altered.
Sarah looks at the results of her program again.
No, they haven't. It all looks normal.
Sarah pauses, intensifies her concentration on the screen.
That's what they want you to think. They know you looked. Now they're monitoring you, waiting to catch you doing something with the information.
I'm not doing anything with it.
Sarah looks at Jeff. Paranoia and fear sweep across her face.
No.
She backs out of the room into interior, Sarah's apartment, bedroom, continuous. Sarah enters, finds Jeff at the window looking down at the street.
I could have sworn someone followed us on the walk home.
I didn't see anyone.
They were there. They're good at hiding.
Stop it! No! There was no one there. It was just my mind.
Sarah tries to calm herself, think rationally.
Alex is right. If I had seen something really important, I would know by now.
You know that's not true.
Do I? I'm talking to some delusion in my mind made up when I was 5. What exactly do I know?
She pauses, collects herself a bit.
That guy with Washington this morning,
Drews?
something about him just doesn't feel right.
Washington said he's just reviewing candidates for the recruitment process.
That's not what he said.
Sarah thinks on that.
Funny how he showed up right after you found these files.
Sarah lets her mind dwell on that for a beat before pulling herself back.
No. No! Washington said he was here for recruitment.
Doesn't mean he can't also be looking into what you found.
Sarah stares at Jeff, overwhelmed. She flops onto her bed.
Stop. Please.
Jeff looks at her, sits next to her on the bed.
I need to talk to Washington.
You know what she told you this morning.
When to look away.
That's what people in this field do. They look away from things like this, small things that don't really matter.
This does matter.
Sarah storms by Jeff and moves back into interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, continuous. Jeff stands over the computer.
Someone planted these files for you to find. Sarah, someone's setting you up for a pretty big fall.
Stop.
The government's probably tapped in this apartment right now, listening to this entire conversation.
Sarah's eyes dart toward the window, toward the front door. She never locked behind her when she got home.
No, that's...
Sarah runs and locks the door, turns on Jeff and explodes.
You are the one that made me look at this stuff. I wanted to forget about it, but you kept reading. You're the one that got me into this mess.
Don't blame me, because you're so good at hacking that you got into these files without realizing what they were and what might come of it.
None of this would have happened if you just... God damn it! Why can't you just stay wherever the hell it is that you go when you're not here ruining my life?
I'm helping you. You need me.
I don't need you.
Sarah turns away from Jeff.
Just go. Get out, and I don't...
Sarah turns back. Jeff is gone.
Come back.
Sarah looks around her empty apartment. Total silence in her mind. Interior, bar, restaurant, night. Sarah, Dev, Annalise, and Chris, late 20s, sit around a table. Sarah, Annalise, and Chris all have drinks. Dev has water. The bar is pretty busy, with a fair amount of noise from other patrons and music.
The real question is if Chris will be able to redeem himself after last month's lightning round disaster.
Oh, come on, like I'm supposed to know all the Soviet socialist republics.
Annalise and Sarah share a look.
Whatever.
Annalise finishes.
I
Annalise
could
finishes her drink.
I could use another.
I'll come with you.
You guys want another?
Sarah and Chris wave off the offer, and Dev and Annalise head to the bar.
How's residency been? Feels like you've been AWOL for ages.
24-hour shifts will do that. It's good, though.
Sarah looks at him.
You're almost a doctor.
Look who's talking, Miss I'm gonna be a government operative.
They laugh.
You'll never guess who friended me the other day. John Costello.
John? Wow, I haven't thought about him since high school.
Can you believe it's been 10 years already?
And I still haven't convinced you to switch political parties.
I like messing with the primaries.
Uh-huh.
Chris takes a sip of his beer.
Oh, so Dev told me you've got a thing coming up for a government position?
Sarah shifts uncomfortably at what she was trying to forget tonight.
He said you've got to do a polygraph and everything.
A look of sudden realization dawns on Sarah.
Sorry, was this one of those secret government things no one's supposed to know about?
No, I mean, I'd forgotten all about it.
Dev and Annalise reappear with drinks.
Forgot about what?
The polygraph thing.
Ah, you forgot. I would have been preparing this whole time.
It's just a polygraph. The real issue is the interview and psych profile. Polygraph's a piece of cake.
Sarah takes this in, decides to put on a brave face.
I know, right?
Sarah focuses on this as the conversation drifts to mundane things. As we go to exterior, street, night. Sarah, deep in thought, walks down the nearly empty sidewalk. A man walking the other direction brushes by her, knocks her off balance.
Hey!
The man, in a government suit if there ever was one, turns and stares right into Sarah's eyes as they keep walking. Sarah, instantly creeped out, turns back and picks up her pace. Slowly, the noise of the street, cars, bikes, bells, footsteps, the rustling of a paper cup, blowing and bouncing down the sidewalk in the wind, seep into Sarah's mind. Sarah glances around. A shadowy figure on the sidewalk behind her. Sarah picks up her pace. The shadowy figure's footsteps follow her, getting closer. Sarah starts running, panicking as she fumbles for her keys in her bag. All the time, the sounds of the footsteps and murmuring behind her getting closer and closer to her. Sarah reaches the door to her building and hurriedly jams her key in the door and bursts inside. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, same. Sarah pushes through her front door, locks every bolt, chain, and knob behind her. She backs away from the door, looks around, immediately turns on all the lights, and backs up against a wall. Sarah closes her eyes tight for several seconds. She takes a few steadying breaths, then...
No. 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 No.
She grabs her phone and dials a number. The phone rings. Alex picks up.
Hey, you. It's, I know it's late, and I said, no. I'd really like for you to come over.
What's wrong?
Please, just, I really don't want to be alone right now.
Of course, give me 15 minutes.
Thanks.
Sarah hangs up, slides to the floor, her back against the wall, and waits. End of Act 3. Act 4. Interior, Sarah's apartment, bedroom, night. Later, Sarah and Alex are tangled up in Sarah's bed. Alex sleeps as Sarah stares at the ceiling. Her panic attack is over, but she's still restless. Sarah sighs and slowly extracts herself from Alex and the bed, padding out of the room to living room, continuous. Sarah doesn't bother turning on any lights as she goes to her laptop, opens it, and types in her password. She opens an internet browser and searches, "How does a polygraph work?" and starts reading an article. Jeff is suddenly on the couch next to her.
Remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Sarah gives Jeff a side glance.
Somehow, I don't think George Costanzo was talking about pulling one over on a government polygraph.
You knew you'd face this eventually.
Sarah ignores the comment, reads.
Probable lie comparison.
So when I lie about this, I just need to lie convincingly.
Not quite.
Well, what then? I can't tell them the truth.
Can't you? Depends on what you believe.
Sarah considers that point.
I need to think about what the questions actually mean.
Who are you talking to?
Sarah starts. Jeff is instantly gone.
Alex, sorry, did I wake you?
I heard you talking.
Alex comes over, sits where Jeff just was. Sarah discreetly covers up her search with another browser tab.
Just working on something for class.
Alex, groggy, tries to process that.
Come back to bed.
Yeah, I'll be done soon.
Alex goes back to bed. Sarah tries to find the tab she was researching in. She clicks on one tab, and the files on the War on Truth open. Sarah stares at them, shakes her head, then closes that tab and continues researching polygraphs in the dark. Exterior, lake by medical complex, day. Sarah and Mitchell walk around the lake. Sarah is nervous, fidgety. She's starting to get a bit more manic.
You really think that you can beat the polygraph?
Yes.
How do you plan to do that?
Sarah starts to say something, but her eyes catch movement. She snaps her head toward the movement, a duck swimming in the lake.
Something wrong?
No, look, I know we agreed to unconventional settings for sessions, but I really need to be inside right now.
No problem.
Mitchell gestures toward the medical office park, and they walk away from the lake. Interior, Dr. Mitchell's office, day. Moments later, Sarah sits across from Mitchell. She's animated, engaged.
A polygraph is an open system, so to beat it, I have to convince the system that whatever inputs I give are true, regardless of their actual validity.
So you lie.
I make the system think it's receiving the truth.
You're overconfident.
Sarah recoils.
I am not. I can do this.
How?
Sarah stops.
Every system has weaknesses, loopholes. I just have to find the right one.
Interior, Cybertech Lab, day. Sarah logs into her computer suite. She has no new messages. She moves to the system's homepage and sees a new update, a new simulation to work. She accesses it. Jeff now sits next to her. Sarah looks over the simulation code. Her brow furrows.
This seems simple enough.
What's the catch?
Sarah commits to the simulation. The timer starts, and she starts working. Time lapse. Sarah works, methodical. She blocks various viruses and hostile code hack attempts. She defends, identifies friendly hits to the network with ease, until Sarah flags a friendly code hit as benign and starts to move on when the friendly hit suddenly moves to a file, accesses it, and infects it.
Shit.
Sarah watches and tries to counter as the infection starts to spread. Sarah watches slowly, leans back from the screen, realizes. Jeff is sitting next to her again.
That's how you do it.
The easiest way to beat the system is to convince it you're not a threat, that you're something else.
Sarah thinks through this, looks at Jeff, and we go to montage. Music plays over the following scenes. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Sarah sits at her computer, inputting the final pieces of code for a self-made program. Jeff wanders around the room. Sarah meticulously puts the galvanic skin response equipment on her fingers, applies the heart monitor, straps the breathing monitor around her chest. The computer displays the first question. Sarah immediately answers MOS. A second question, a second MOS answer from Sarah. She has a different physical response. The computer flags the attempt as a failure. Interior, government building, hallway, day. Sarah waits nervously to be called back from the polygraph. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Sarah fails again. Her frustration, her anger at not being able to beat this, builds. Interior, interrogation room, day. Sarah is strapped into the polygraph machine. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Sarah keeps going, takes time to steady herself before giving 2 back-to-back MOS responses. She gets her first pass from the home-built system. Interior, interrogation room, day. Sarah is asked MOS questions by the technician. She answers MOS. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. In her home-built system, Sarah gets better and better and passes more and more questions with a repeated, steady heart rate, GSR, and breathing responses. Interior, interrogation room, day. Sarah answers a question MOS. The technician looks down at the readout from the machine, which we don't see. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Sarah, pleased, closes her laptop, unstraps herself from her homemade setup, turns off the light, and goes to bed. Interior, interrogation room, day. Sarah is unhooked from the machine and walks out, confident. End of Act 4. Act 5. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, day. Sarah walks in, tosses her bag down, lets out a sigh of relief.
How did it go?
Sarah doesn't spare him a glance at his perch by the window as she flops onto the couch, stretching out.
I passed.
Are you sure?
Sarah frowns, sits up.
Yeah, I was prepared.
Did they say if you passed? The technicians are trained not to give anything away.
Sarah catches what's happening.
Stop it. I know what you're doing. What I'm doing.
Sarah stands, tries to shake her dampening spirit.
I was just trying to help.
Sarah looks at Jeff.
Yeah, but this doesn't help me. I can help myself. I don't need you.
There's a heavy pause as neither say anything, and Sarah turns her back on Jeff and starts to walk away. Jeff starts to say something, but is cut off when Sarah's phone rings. It's Washington. Sarah answers.
Hi, Director.
Intercut with Interior, Washington's office, day. Washington sits at her desk.
Sarah, I was wondering if you could come in tomorrow morning.
Yes. Is everything okay?
I prefer to discuss this in person.
Sarah stops cold, considering this.
Sarah,
Yeah, I'm here.
how's 9 a.m.?
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll see you then.
Stay with Sarah as she hangs up and turns around to talk to Jeff.
I guess
But Jeff is gone. Sarah looks around, alone. Exterior, Psychiatric Hospital, day. A sign above the main entrance reads, Campbell Psychiatric Hospital. There's a fenced-in yard to the side, peppered with residents of the hospital, orderlies, and very few visitors. Sarah sits with her mom, Elise, mid-50s, years of hardship evident on her face, on a bench. Sarah sits physically closer to her mom than she stood to her dad in Act 1. Elise's gaze is fixated on something off-screen.
sorry I missed our usual time.
The statement tweaks Elise. Her focus shifts rapidly to Sarah.
I had an interview thing.
For what?
It was for a job. With the government?
Your program.
Sarah nods.
That's wonderful. I'm happy for you.
Sarah relishes the comment, the acknowledgement. Elise tenses, flinches as if a loud sound had just taken her by surprise.
They need to stop ringing that bell.
Sarah looks at her mom, rote recognition dampening the happiness of the moment.
They keep telling me they're not doing it. Just their way of getting back at me for complaining about how they treat us.
Sarah searches for a way back to the conversation.
So, for the interview, I had to take a polygraph because it's a government job. I'm not sure I passed.
You passed.
Sarah looks up.
I thought so, but my director wants to see me, and she didn't sound happy.
Honey,
Elise puts her hand on Sarah's knee.
you've always been so hard on yourself. You passed.
Sarah appreciates the moment.
Now, tell me what you think.
Sudden shift doesn't faze Sarah.
Think about what?
The billboard.
Elise turns her attention back to the point she was fixated on when we first met her. She points to a divorce service billboard across the street. Need to get out? Call Brinkman and Associates.
They put it up this week, making fun of me.
Elise contorts again, works through the pain caused by the bell she hears. Sarah puts a comforting hand on her mom's back.
I'll talk to them. Ask them to stop ringing my bell.
Thank you.
Sarah looks up, sees an orderly approaching.
It's time for dinner.
Elise looks up, suddenly pleased.
It's pasta night. I'll save you a garlic bread.
Sarah smiles, leans in, and kisses her mom on the cheek.
Love you.
I love you. See you next week, normal time.
Elise nods, gets up, and happily follows the orderly away as Sarah watches, emotions warring inside her. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Later that night, Sarah lies sprawled out on the couch with the TV on. She's not really watching, and her eyes keep drifting to her laptop on the coffee table. She sits up and takes a deep breath. She grabs a laptop, logs in, opens the War on Truth files, just as knock, knock, knock on her apartment door. Sarah jumps and quickly closes the laptop. Knock, knock, knock. Sarah calms herself, frowns, and goes to the door. She peers through the peephole. Alex is on the other side, holding a bag of takeout.
Crap.
She quickly unbolts the door and yanks it open.
You stood me out. To watch HGTV?
I'm so sorry.
Sarah stands aside, and Alex walks into the apartment.
You're really good for the ego, you know.
I just lost track of time.
Sarah immediately bolts all the locks, chains, and knobs on the door.
Look, I know you've been stressed, so I thought I'd bring you anxiety-relieving pad thai offering.
Sarah takes the bag.
I don't deserve you.
Later, living room, night. Sarah and Alex sit on the couch watching TV. Alex looks over to see Sarah again not paying attention, fidgeting with some lint on the couch.
You really weren't kidding when you said you were stressed.
Sarah tries to play it off, turns to Alex to give her full attention to their conversation.
I was just thinking about tomorrow. What if Washington tells me I failed?
You didn't fail. You're exactly what they're looking for.
Sarah looks away, unconvinced.
That's what my dad said.
Jeff appears in Sarah's line of sight, as Alex says,
Sarah, you'll be fine.
Well, you know that's not true.
Sarah closes her eyes. When she opens them, Jeff is still there.
Yeah, I know.
Sarah turns back to Alex, offers the best smile she can. Fade to exterior, campus, morning. Birds sing as Sarah climbs the steps outside a building. Interior, Washington's office, day. Washington shows Sarah into the room, where Drews sits at a small conference table.
Sarah, you remember Mr. Drews?
Sarah radiates nervousness.
Yes. Hi.
Hello, Sarah.
They all sit.
Mr. Drews is here to ask you a few questions.
Is this about the polygraph?
Relax, Sarah. You passed.
A wave of relief crashes over Sarah, which is shattered by,
How long have you been with the program?
3 years.
Always sought a job in cyber intelligence.
Cybersecurity. Since junior year of undergrad.
Drews shuffles through some papers before flippantly asking.
How do you think your mental health will affect your ability to do this type of work?
Sarah reacts.
Be honest.
Sarah tightens her jaw and looks him square in the face.
My mental health is fine.
Drews holds her gaze. Sarah doesn't waver.
Sarah, we know many things about you and your talents. Some people don't care why they think, feel, and view things the way they do. But you're different. That's why you see Dr. Mitchell once a week, isn't it?
Sarah pales. She's been caught. It's all over.
I can explain.
Don't. It answers the question of how you did it.
Sarah isn't sure what he means.
Did what?
The information you uncovered on the War on Truth.
Sarah braces herself and looks to Washington, who watches the exchange impassively. Drews hasn't taken his eyes off of Sarah.
How would you like to help us fight it?
End of Act 5. Act 6. Interior, Washington's office. Day. Continuous from previous act. Sarah sits stone still, absorbing that shock.
What?
The files. We placed them there under several layers of security to see if there was someone capable of accessing them.
Sarah can't believe what she's hearing.
It takes a certain type of person, a certain type of mind to know when something's worth taking a closer look at, despite what others tell them.
Sarah is silent.
You'd be a good addition to our team to help us protect innocent people's privacy when the government tries to use it as a tool.
Sarah is dumbfounded.
No. No, I know what this is. You're trying to get me to say something that'll disqualify me from working with the government.
It's not a trick.
Sarah doesn't say anything, just stares at them. Washington and Drews exchange a look, but press on.
Sarah, You expressed concern about this invasion of privacy.
Sarah turns to Washington, struggles.
You told me to look away from this. You told me to think about what mattered to me. Do you have any idea the hell I put myself through, thinking someone was going to knock on my door and I just disappear?
Sarah.
And now you're trying to get me to join your shadow organization that works against the government I've worked for most of my life to serve?
Sarah meets Washington's eyes evenly.
I do have questions about what I saw in those files, but how do I know you're telling me the truth now?
An uncomfortable silence. Sarah stares at Washington and droops, her world nearly shattered.
Consider what we're offering. Come observe what we do.
Sarah can't believe any of this.
Absolutely not. If this is real, it's treason. I won't do it.
Sarah storms out. Interior, Dr. Mitchell's office, day. Sarah sits with Mitchell. She's just told him everything.
I understand why you're upset.
I'm not upset. I'm angry.
Doesn't sound like you are.
I am.
There. That's angry, Sarah. What's this really about? The truth.
Why does everything keep telling me to be truthful? I'm not the one who lied.
Aren't you?
Sarah sets her jaw.
I just feel, why are you asking me this?
Uncertainty's a bitch, isn't it? Especially with your convictions start to break.
Sarah looks at Mitchell.
I just wasn't expecting something like this.
Sarah retreats inward before...
I've always wanted to protect people's privacy.
Well, you don't think that's an option anymore.
Sarah doesn't have an answer.
What does Jeff say about this?
Sarah's silent for a long beat, refuses to make eye contact with Mitchell.
He's not real.
But it feels like he's real.
He's been there, in my head, or out of it, or whatever, my whole life. I wouldn't see him for months, sometimes years, but he's always floating around in there somewhere. I used to be able to make him go away if I wanted to, but now he's around all the time, and he never shuts up. And because of him, I saw these files, and now I'm in some deep, deep shit, and I need this to stop before things get more out of control than they already are.
Mitchell considers. Sarah visibly takes a breath.
What do you mean, because of him you saw these files? Did he tell you to do something?
Yes. No. He encouraged me to keep looking even though I didn't want to. Or maybe I did. He's really a part of my mind, right?
Mitchell listens intently, growing concerned.
Is this the first time he's told you to do something?
Yeah, I guess. And then he started going on about people following me and stuff, and it really freaked me out.
Do you think people are following you?
Sometimes. I just get these feelings, and there's a lot going on, you know? Maybe people are following me.
Sarah, we've talked about psychosis before. You know the symptoms, delusions, paranoia. There's medications that can help with this.
The idea hits Sarah hard.
No.
I know with your family history, you're...
I'm not taking medication.
I think you should.
Why? If I start taking meds, it goes in the records, and what I've dedicated most of my life to work for just go away. Like that.
The government could discover your illness on the polygraph.
They didn't. I passed it. No thanks to Jeff distracting me with those damn files. I know what these kinds of meds do to people. I'll spend my time drooling onto my keyboard and just trying to keep my eyes open. I don't need that.
I don't want that for you either. We'll find the right balance so you can.
I need purpose. I need things to do. And I'm so close to having that. I won't destroy that chance. I just need Jeff to go away for a while. There has to be some way to do that aside from drugs.
As your doctor, I'm telling you, you need to consider the medication options. The problems you're having are only going to get worse.
Silence. Sarah doesn't know what else to say, except for...
Help me.
That's what I'm trying to do. But ethically, if you refuse treatment, I'll have to consider ending our relationship.
Sarah is taken aback, stands to leave.
I didn't realize how little you cared.
Mitchell stands.
You know I care.
Sarah doesn't buy it, keeps moving toward the door.
You said you need a purpose. Something to do?
Sarah stops, but doesn't turn back.
You didn't say that was with the government.
Sarah turns back to Mitchell, tries to think of something to say, but can't. Interior, Sarah's apartment, living room, night. Sarah, stretched out on the couch, her laptop an arm's length away. Sarah tries to concentrate on the TV, but she keeps looking at the laptop. She clicks off the TV, grabs the laptop, and starts reading over the War on Truth files again. Jeff appears, sitting across the room from her.
Trust yourself. This isn't something you should get involved with.
Sarah tries to ignore him.
How will I know if I've done the right thing if I look away?
Sarah pulls up a War on Truth file of a man from North Dakota. She thoroughly looks through his profile.
The only note on why he's a threat is that he accessed WikiLeaks in 2013.
He's being watched for something a whole bunch of other people did too.
And look at this. It says he had a DUI expunged from his record when he was 22.
Sarah sits back, thinks.
I have to do this.
No, you don't. And you shouldn't.
Sarah sits up and looks hard at the pictures of the man in the file. She clicks open another file, and a photo of a woman pops up. She keeps clicking as we push in on the laptop screen as a rapid series of photos of average Americans flies by, before abruptly stopping on an image of death.
What the hell?
Sarah stares at the screen for a long beat, looks over at Jeff, but he's gone. Her mind races. Then she grabs her phone and quickly dials a number. The line rings. The line picks up.
Washington.
Sarah pauses, then
All right, I want to see what this is all about.
cut to black. End of episode.